Okay, so back to Python tutorial, and in this module we are going to be talking about data types. So just going to let's solve this what we did, and right here I'm going to go ahead and create a new file, and I'm going to name these data types.py. So inside this data type.py, allow me to have the normal shebang line. That is actually sometimes sounds somehow. Okay, good. So we have our shebang line already right here, and then what we are just going to be learning is that in Python, or let me say in programming languages in general terms, there are types of data. So the first type of data that we have is a string. So extra string. So a string is actually a sequence of character enclosed in a double or a single quote. So any string you say, okay, this is a string, and that is actually what is called a string in programming or in computer terms generally. And these are another one. Let's just use string 2 is equals to, so we can actually use the single quotes. This is a string 2. This actually is nothing but is a string. So that is how a string is being defined in computer science or in programming terms generally. So once again, a string is a sequence of character enclosed within double quotes. So you get the idea of what I'm saying now. So how can I actually print these string on the buffer, so on the screen? It's simple. With Python we can just use print string. So we can actually have the string print on our, oops, that's, I'm still working with variables, sorry, that's Python 3. Then we need to do with data types, and this is a string. So if I'm to print the string, second string, I'm just going to say string 2. Alright, say this is a string 2, so you get the idea of a string. So I'm just going to put a comment here. So the first one is string data types, and right here I'm going to just put the second one is numeric data type. So or you can just call it numbers in time. So it's actually simple. We can have num1 equals to 10. So this is actually a number in Python. So just a data type. So a number is another kind of data type, or we call it decimal. So decimal is actually any number without a floating point is actually what we call decimal in programming language. So you get the idea. Another one that is actually a numeric type is something called a float. So a float number is actually a numeric data that is actually with a floating point. So we can say float equals to, so whenever you have a value that's say 25.60, so you actually know that this is actually a floating point in Python or in any other kind of programming language like that. Okay, we are moving forward. So there is another data types that we can actually work on which is called complex. So sorry, complex like that. So complex is actually a kind of a data types whereby we use J to represent the imaginary part. For example, if I have this kind of number, you see this is actually too much kind of number for me to even pronounce, until I go through it one by one. It actually can actually be hard. But what if I actually have this to be an infinite number that I just want to imagine all this kind of highlighted part of this number? So instead of putting like that, I can just put J. So Python understand it very well. So I'm just complex, so like that. So Python understand this number as a complex number. So it knows that, okay, right in my mind I have some imaginary part of this number that I've actually been keeping in my head that I just don't want to, you get the idea, I just don't want to cram everything, you get the idea. Alright, so there is a kind of data type that it calls sequence. So we have another sequence data type, These ones are actually very complex rather than they float the number. The first one I'm going to talk about is called the list. So I'm just going to talk about the first one as the list. So the list actually works like a container that holds an arrangement of variables. So that is how the Python actually gives the list. And other programming language actually look at the list like an array. So you get to there in a little bit. So let's check up on the list again. So if you are going to have, let's say we want to have languages. So these are actually languages. So this is a variable right now. You should know how to create a variable now, then equal to. So inside of this on these are container, so using the square bracket or the square parentheses as it's supposed to be called, using these squared parentheses we can actually divide the list, or let me say a sequence or arrangement of information that we have. So let's say these are programming languages we want to have. We can say the first one we actually want to have Python, since we are writing Python. The second one we want to have C++, and another one we want to have Java, we want to have Kotlin, so like that. So this is just a list. Another one we have is something called tuple. So we get to that in a little bit. Tuple is actually part of it data types that works very similar to a list, but actually having some kind of a strict attributes compared to a list. So tuple actually works in this way. So we can say my tuple equals to, then followed by the parentheses right here. So we can just give some information like this. So probably we just want to give some sequence of arrangement of information. So okay, I just feel we can write pi jar, so we just shorten this cpp. Okay, so this is actually a tuple in a Python programming language. So we have another one which is a set. So get the idea. It's very important to actually know this. So a set actually works similarly to a set in mathematics, so we'll just call it a set like that. And a set also holds an information. We can have Python, we can have Java, so just jar, or let me just make something really always different. Then we can make what other, bash. I love bash. Okay, I love bash programming language too. Bash is actually a scripting language, right? That's not that. So you get the idea. There is another one which is very important to know too, which is the fourth one. We call it a dictionary. So a dictionary like that. You can just type it finish. So it's normally shortened as this, so we just use dic like that. So a dictionary, we can just say okay, my dictionary it equals to, then we can actually provide the information. So this actually works in pair. Dictionary always work in terms of a key and this followed by a value. So you get the idea. So just like a curly parenthesis, then inside the curly parenthesis you always have the parts one talking about the key. Let me just give full information. For example now, so I can have the first name to be Python. So you get the idea. So first name is Python, then we can say the star. So we want to give Python a star now of probably 300. So let me say 5. So 5 star is actually something really nice. So these actually in pair. So we have the first name as just like, okay, this is just a definition. What information does it contain? It contains the first name, then what's the star that you cannot start star that it contain 5 stars. So you get the idea as you move on. Just don't worry. So there are a lot of data types in Pythons, include bytes and memory. So let's just create a byte. So another one is bytes. So byte actually means binary. So when you actually get to understand bits, we know that 8 bits equals to 1 byte. So and byte is actually calculated in memory. So 100 1024 bytes. That actually goes ahead and give us probably 1 kilobyte, and 1024 kilobytes give us 1 megabyte. 1024 megabytes give us 1 gigabyte, and so on like that. So in Python we can actually have my bytes. So I'm just using this to create a variable. Then we proceed by using the b followed by the sequence, the double quotes or the single quotes, either of the two. So anything that goes here is okay. This is my bytes. Actually means it's a byte to Python. So I've actually introduced you to lot of data types in Python, and it's very important to know all these guys because we are actually going to be using them. I think there are a lot of bytes. So there is byte array. So byte array actually works like bytes, which means there is just a sequence of bytes that is being there. So that is what you just wanted to understand. So all these are data types that we have written. They can actually be confirmed. And how can we confirm them? There is a function in Python that actually helps us to confirm this. So we can just say print, and the function is actually type. So when we press type like this, so print, so what type or what kind of data type does this variable num1 have? If we put num1 actually here, so I'm just going to run my Python. You can see it says class of integer. So this is string, this is a string 2. When do I print that out? Okay, I'm actually printing out here, so let me get rid of this since we don't need it. We just need to, that's just kind of explanation. Sorry, my bad. As you can see, it said the actually belongs to the class of integer, so which means this variable of what is it? So this variable of my num1 actually belongs to data type of integer. And you can also verify the floats like that. So you just say floats1, so you get the idea. So this is actually 225.c. sorry, I just printed it out. I need the type, so that's what I need. I don't need to just blow it out. Come on, guy, don't do this to me. Okay, so this is nice. So you can see it says it is a float number. It's not actually printing the float because I'm using float. So some people actually get that confused, maybe because I'm using float, that's why it's not. That's not it. So let's get it complex now. We can just say print type of complex. So get what is going on. Then we run the program again. You can see we have this as a complex, which is very verified. We can just say again print type of languages like that. So get the idea of what I'm actually bringing to here. Okay, so the language is a list as I've actually written here, and we can actually go ahead and say print the type of my tuple. It is always very important to know how to get the type of a data type or verify. So let's just rush this a bit. So we have set1. We can also print my dictionary. Then we can just go ahead and print, I think I'm just print that alone. Why am I keep doing that? My bytes. So we really need to put this like type, then open the parentheses, then close the parentheses. So I can just run everything at the same time. So you see we don't have any error in our code. So this is just bytes and whole. So that is all about data types. See you in the next tutorial.